first Adam who is in the garden, who was still going to die, there is this notion, there is this thinking that Adam was immortal.
Yes.
It's not scriptural. Generations before Jesus came physically were covered in his obedience when he died on the cross.
Yes.
Lucifer fell before Adam was formed, not after. If he fell, if you study how he fell, he had actually deceived even nations. At that time, nations. And he had his own garden, and his garden was not really of trees. His garden was of stone.
Shalom, hello there. Welcome to the Watcher's Plug. Thank you for joining us today. Now, we continue with the mysteries of the kingdom, and today we're going to be watching as Prophet Emmanuel Makandiwa was speaking more on why the Bible specifically describes Jesus Christ as the second Adam. And as Prophet Emmanuel Makandiwa continues to teach on this topic, he then reveals to us on what really killed Adam, the first Adam, in the book of Genesis. For a very long time as believers, we have always told ourselves that Adam died because he disobeyed God when God said that he mustn't eat from the tree of knowledge. But as always, Prophet Makandiwa comes with a shocking revelation to this story. Now, to actually get more from the video, make sure to watch to the very end. Remember to also share with your friends, your colleagues, so that they be blessed also. Shalom.
So when God said in the day that you eat, you will die, he's saying that the day that you eat, you will no longer have access to the tree of life that gives you life. That's what God was saying. But let's follow this slowly. So Adam is in the garden. We are going to look at these two, the first and the last, the first and the last. So he's in the garden, and whilst he's in the garden, he's given an instruction by God not to eat, and an instruction to eat from the rest of the trees, or of the rest of the trees, but not from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Don't eat. Then he went on and then he ate. What really is happening there? So let's put the first Adam over here and the last Adam over here. Now, the first Adam who is in the garden, who was still going to die, had he not sinned. The first Adam who was in the garden, which was in Eden, was still going to die, even if he had not sinned. So when God said that in the day that you eat, you would surely die, it is the surely death, surely die that would occur if he is to sin. But if he was to not sin, he was still going to die, but not surely. Adam, because there is this thinking that most people have,
Yes.
that Adam was perfect. Yet God never said he's perfect. God said he's good when he formed him.
Yes.
There is this notion, there is this thinking that Adam was immortal.
Yes.
It's not scriptural. Adam would still die even if he had not sinned. How do I know? He was eating from the tree of life. God did not stop him to eat of the tree of life. Why would you eat? Why would you feed from the tree of life if you're immortal? Immortal beings do not need the tree of life. Why was he visiting the tree of life and eating of the tree of life if there wasn't death working in him? Because God did not say, do not eat of the tree of life. He said, do not eat of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And when God blocked the way, so it was so that he would not eat again. He would not go back again to his source of life. It means Adam, away from the tree of life, was still dying. So I believe, yes, he was going to live forever, though dying. But what would make him to live forever, it was his access to the tree of life. So Adam, away from the tree of life, was a dying man. That's why he would keep on feeding from the tree of life so that he stops what? Dying. But that was before he sinned. That's scripture. Am I doing justice to scripture there? Yes. So there was death working in him. But where is that death coming from? Yet he had not sinned. We have to justify that. So let's put the first Adam here and the last Adam here. The first Adam, you must understand the generation before him and the generation after him. And then we look at the last Adam. We also look at the generation before him, though he was there from the beginning. I'm talking about physically present.
Yes.
The generation before Jesus came physically to earth before, the generation before and the generation after. Because with the first Adam, it's a bit critical. I've shown you a scripture where one man sinned and the rest of the generation that followed became sinners.
Yes.
So it means there must have been the presence of the future generation in the present Adam. Again, if we look at the last Adam, all of us believers, we know that what Jesus did on the cross covered the generation before him and the generation after. Are we in agreement?
Yes.
What he did on the cross covered the blood, covered the reconciliation, covered the creation before Jesus came physically and the creation after Jesus was here physically. Are we in agreement?
In agreement.
Okay. Okay. So that is supposed to be the same if we are to compare and contrast the two, showing the similarities and the differences between the first Adam and the last. For this first man to represent a generation to come, so that in him sinning, in him disobeying, the rest of the generations became disobedient. It means there must have been the presence of the future generation in that present Adam.
Okay.
It would be unfair for all of us to be considered sinners if we did not participate in the sin of Adam. It's unfair. It's an unfair trial. It's an unfair judgment. It was supposed to be only, but Adam, the first Adam, that's where things become a bit critical. The last Adam, it's easier for people to believe me if I say generations before Jesus came physically were covered in his obedience when he died on the cross.
Yes.
And generations after us, we are also covered by what he did 2,000 years ago.
Yes.
It's easy for people to believe that one.
Yeah.
Because when he died, he went back, and we know that he delivered those that were subject to death because of their fear of death, and he set them free. Okay? And people were raised from the dead, which is proof that what he did on the cross went as back
And deliver them who through fear of death were all their lifetime subject to bondage.
They were subject to bondage. Okay, so he delivered them. So dying here, Jesus, the last Adam, dying now, he went back to cover. And then in the future, we are being washed by the blood that was shed, not the blood that shall be shed.
Yeah.
So with the last Adam, there is no argument. We are all in agreement. With the first Adam, the belief is when he sinned, he only sinned for generations to come ahead of him, which is the earthy, the physical.
Yeah.
But we do not have an understanding of the past generation that was present in him.
Past generation present in him.
The past generation that was present in the first Adam. That past generation, there is proof that there was a generation in him. Not only that, he was a part of it. Not only that, he was it. Hence, you see death happening in him even before he sinned. The generation that was here before Adam was here, that fell, that got destroyed by the flood in the book of Genesis. The first flood. And every creation died because of the flood. The rebellion of Lucifer happened before Adam was formed, the first man was formed. There was creation. I don't want to refer to that creation as man, but let me just put it this way. Lucifer fell before Adam was formed, not after. If he fell, if you study how he fell, he had actually deceived even nations. At that time, nations. And he had his own garden, and his garden was not really of trees. His garden was of stores. That's the difference. If I had time to just compare the two gardens, you would see the difference. The garden that Lucifer was in was of flaming stones. It was a garden, but of stones, unique. Adam was given a different garden, and you would have trees in that garden. But this happened before the first man, Adam, was formed. Lucifer deceived nations, and cities were submerged in water. I'm not talking about the flood of Noah, the flood that happened before Adam was formed. Right? And there was chaos. There was chaos, which is the justification that there could not have been any chaos at that time, unless there was a judgment that God had passed on the creation that was then present. So, when God comes and then he is telling the man to replenish the earth, it was plenished before the destruction, before the first flood. And now Adam, the first man, is being given a mandate by God to replenish it again. Replenish, do it again, fill it up again, because it was once filled before you, and then I destroyed everything. But how come we see the sin nature in Adam even before he sinned? How come we are seeing the penalty of sin, which is death, working in his body way before he sinned? I'm justifying now the presence of the previous generation that God had judged. There was already judgment.